Hi guys, welcome to my Q&A in my messy office. I have stuff everywhere. One of these days I'm going to clean it up and make it look a little nicer, but not today because I'm going to answer questions that you left on Instagram. Some of them are like a little bit similar, so I'll try and just answer all of them, but if they overlap a little bit, then they'll just kind of be a 2-for-1. Wow, we're starting off with an intense one. This one says, what is one thing you wish you knew before entering the classroom for the first time? One thing that I would say, and this is kind of advice for new teachers as well, I was talking to my dad the other day because he helps run like new teacher induction programs, and I was saying pretty much all people need to do in an induction program is like go over classroom management strategies, and then I was like, there should be a class where you just get sample emails from parents and you just have to figure out how to reply to those parent emails. I think that's something that people don't really go over, and I mean, for the most part, things with parents are fine. Like 90% of your parents are going to be great, but then there are like 10%, maybe 5% that kind of want to trap you sometimes when they email you, or they're trying to get their kid out of something. You know, they're kind of just looking to trip you up in an email. And that's such a shame, but that is something that you have to be aware of. I'll talk a little bit more about the classroom management stuff later in response to some other questions, but yeah, that's something good to know going into the classroom is how to respond to parent emails. And just keeping in mind that this email could get, forwarded to anybody. There could be a screenshot of it, and even things that, are not like impolite or inappropriate in any way, sometimes people still try to use against you. So sorry to start things off on kind of like a negative foot, but that's just something to be aware of, that probably like the most annoying part of your day would be just if there's like a delicate situation with a parent, just because it's going to take a lot of your time to like craft an email that is appropriate and includes exactly the right amount of information and nothing extra, and then you like CC your principal on it and make sure that you have like covered your bases. My husband teaches PE, and parents like to complain about PE a lot, and at the same time he has like requirements that he must fulfill. He has to do like the presidential physical fitness testing, and he has classes of like 90 students at a time, and so he can't make a lot of exceptions for students, but parents often will complain about PE. So if you teach elementary school and then you also do the PE program, like expect at least once throughout your year like a parent to be mad that their kid's shoes got dirty or their like jeans got dirty, and like to waste a lot of your time with issues like that. So yeah, those are just some things you wouldn't think of, and they don't really prepare you for in teacher credentialing programs, and you just have to be kind of careful of. Another question is, like, did you find it difficult when student teaching with only a few years of an age gap? And let's see, I was 23, I think, when I did my student teaching, and I taught sophomores and juniors. So some of them were like 18 years old, and I was like 5 years older than them, I guess. And I don't know, I don't think the age gap bothered me too much. It was kind of nice that I wasn't too much older than them. And this was just like the girls, really, like, just to have like a little bit more of a relationship with the girls, in that I could talk to them about their futures or their careers, or where they were going to go to college and stuff like that. So I thought that was really fun. I had very good master teachers that commanded a lot of respect from their students, and so the master teachers were still there, so the kids knew that they weren't going to be able to like disrespect me. So I didn't find that to be too much of a problem. Now, I subbed a lot for my master teachers. Anytime they were out, I would just sub for them so that I could actually get paid for the day, because normally I wasn't getting paid. And one of the teachers had a class that had mostly seniors, and there were a couple senior boys that would just like hit on me mercilessly, and it was really annoying, and it was hard to like figure that out as like a sub and a student teacher, and they're just joking, but it's like Okay, and I think you can do it with a sense of humor, but at the same time, you kind of want to set an example to the other girls in your class. Like, if you are getting unwanted attention from a boy, even though they're just kidding around, what do? And it will fluster you a little bit, but you have to just like shut them down and be really emotionally neutral. I don't know, if you can come up with some good burns, that's not, it's not such a bad idea. Just really shut them down. But you know, if you're in a high school where you're not that much older than the kids, you might deal with something like that. And yeah, I would just say prepare yourself for that and use it as an opportunity to show the girls in your class how to shut down unwanted attention. The other question here was, how do you deal with people who don't respect your profession? I don't care. I don't care if people don't respect my profession. I don't know. That's just never bothered me. I'm like, if you don't want to be a teacher, don't be a teacher. I'll do it. Well, this is a good question. What are your future career goals? Teaching is great, but do you plan to do it forever or someday move on to admin, counselor, specialist, etc.? There is a PhD program that I'm considering. It would be down the line, obviously, and I would like to work in a college setting someday. Like after I have many years of experience in a middle school or a high school classroom, I would like to work in like a credential program and teach teachers who are getting started. I want it to be focused on history because that is my passion and my love and my soul. My husband really wants me to get into admin because they get paid more. That's just not where my heart is, and I always feel like that's really not my strength. A few people have told me that they could see me as an administrator and think that that is my strength, but I really don't. I really don't think that. I dread dealing with conflicts with other teachers and with parents and stuff like that, and that's a big part of what an administrator's job is, and I don't think that I would enjoy that at all. I hate meetings. I like working with kids, so I would like to stay in the classroom as long as possible. Okay, man, I gotta speed things up here. Okay, how do you manage teaching and going to grad school, or how did I manage that? I hear it's hard. It was really difficult. It took me 5 years to get my master's. I started it after I did my credential when I was just working in after school programs and I couldn't get a teaching job, and then I continued it while I was only teaching part-time. That's all I could get. And then I had to cut back on my classes a little bit while I taught full-time, and then I finished it while I was pregnant. In my program, it was not for education, it was for history, and it was to prepare you to like get a PhD in history and become a history professor. So they didn't care if you had a full-time job. They expected that you didn't. They expected that you were focusing on your program for the most part. So nothing was online. It was about an hour away from where I lived, so I always had to drive there. I had classes till 10 at night a lot of the time. There were days when I would have class from 4 to 7 and then 7 to 10. It was really intense, but the thing was that I loved it so much. I loved studying history. I was really passionate about my subject area and the history of the Virgin Islands. I'm going to make a whole separate video about my thesis and my grad school process just because I love talking about it, so I'll go more in depth there. I just loved it so much. That was the only way that I could get through it because it was ridiculous. And I think most programs are a lot easier and a lot shorter, and education programs are a lot more related to what you're actually doing, and so I think that would be much easier. And if you could do it online, that's going to help as well. It's worth it to get your master's though. Usually, like for me at this point on the salary schedule, I make $6,000 more per year with my master's than I would have without it, so I think it's worth it to get your master's. If you could do it all over again, would you pick a different subject or age group to teach? My ideal is high school history. That's just what I want to do. I love middle school though. I think I'm in middle school for a reason, and I'm not like making any moves to get out of middle school. I love middle school as well. I think I can do a lot of good there, and I'm learning so much about teaching through teaching middle school, and I didn't intend to teach English, but that was like the only way that I could get a job. And so I'm learning a lot about literacy and teaching writing, and you know, those are things that are super valuable to me and have really improved my teaching. So I think there was a reason that I ended up teaching middle school English for the moment, but yeah, my ideal is high school history. The next one is, have I experienced teacher burnout? There were definitely days where I experienced teacher burnout, especially last year. I think just partly because I was pregnant and I was so exhausted, and I made a video about how to deal with teacher burnout, so I'll link that below. Go check that out for some advice if you are also experiencing teacher burnout. Here's a good one. How do you manage your work home life with a teacher workload, and then like exercise? How do you organize your classroom, organize data? Oh, okay, that's kind of a lot of things. Let's see. I'm terrible at organizing data. I'm terrible at organizing my classroom. I have not been doing those things very well this year because I have a new baby, and that's been like the biggest life change, and it has affected my teaching, I would say. Like I spend less time in my classroom because I need to go pick up the baby, and because there's an after school group in my classroom every day after school, and I can't work with something else going on. I want to be alone in my classroom, and I don't get alone time in my classroom, and I can't really do it before school because I have to drop Jensen off at a late enough time that I can go pick him up after school. So it's been difficult this year, and I would definitely say, I think I mentioned this in another video, that I've just been very compartmentalized. Like when I'm at school, I focus on school entirely. Like I don't remember on my lunch break to like get other things done, like, you know, make a phone call or like deal with a budget issue or like order something, you know, like just for my personal life. For some reason, I'm just totally focused on school. And then when I get home, I'm totally focused on Jensen. I'll bring things to grade or whatever, and it never happens. I'm just realizing that at least for right now, while he's so little and I'm still transitioning into this like mom/teacher thing, that I'm just 100% school when I'm there and 100% home when I'm home. And I can't really blend the two at the moment. Where do you find inspiration to keep being a creative teacher? Do you have teacher role models? I totally do. I love working with really great teachers. I know that sometimes there's like competition between teachers and they resent teachers that are doing cool things, but I love watching more experienced teachers than me, or just people who are doing really cool things. They had a ceremony for like kind of like Teachers of the Year. I think they called it something different in our district the other day, and I couldn't make it to the ceremony, but I saw the program, and it had like a picture and a little bio about each of the teachers that were recognized. And I loved just reading through those. There's an elementary teacher who has a piano in her classroom, and she plays live piano music every morning while her students come in. Like, that's awesome. Like, just things like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Like, there are just all these really special things that you could do in your classroom, and I love hearing about those. Okay, I'm realizing I'm talking way too much to answer all these questions without making this video like 24 hours long. So let me kind of combine a few questions. Classroom management wise, or becoming a new teacher and trying to prepare yourself for your first job, I would say look into the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then they have student versions of that book. The middle school version is called Leader in Me, and then I think they even have an elementary school version. I think that's a really great way to structure your class and your school if your school buys into it. I've more been doing like the research and the training of myself this year on that, and next year I'm going to implement it into my classroom like full speed ahead from the first day, and I'm really excited about that. I think it's a great classroom management system / just like, this is the way we operate in life. This is a way to be successful in life, and we kind of have a common language to talk about ways to be responsible for ourselves and make good decisions. So I think 7 Habits are great. I also got trained in restorative practices this year, and particularly restorative circles or community circles. I would say look into those as well, especially the restorative practices. And like, there's this thing called nonviolent communication, which I think that term kind of annoys me because I'm like, you know, it suggests that like other ways of communicating are violent, and I'm like, I don't know if I agree. But anyway, that is something I'm really trying to work on as well. I know that the Love and Logic programs are very similar to this. My mom uses that in her moderate to severe special ed classes, and even like with my nieces and stuff, and I think that's a really good way to kind of organize your classroom. So I would say that's a really good thing to do if you're struggling with classroom management, or you're a new teacher and you're trying to prepare yourself for a job next year. Learn about classroom management strategies now, because it's a lot easier to have them in the back of your mind when you go into it than like struggling to keep your head above water and trying to figure out something when you're in the middle of crazy behavior in your class. And behavior management is really something that only comes with experience. Like, you just get better at it as you go, but it helps to have a little background knowledge. Someone asked about interviewing and a way to make yourself stand out in interviews. And I think one thing that administrators are kind of wary of with new teachers is their classroom management. So if you can just convey the fact that you have classroom management strategies already in mind, and you have ways of dealing with kids and communicating with parents and structuring your classroom so that you can promote positive behavior, I think that would really impress principals. And then what always worked for me is just the fact that I do everything. I coach everything. I can teach choir, I can do drama. I, am always a club advisor, and that's just like a new teacher thing that people want to jump on. They're like, oh good, fresh blood, we can make them do everything. Sort of sucks because then you get yourself like locked into all these extra responsibilities. But if you're just trying to get a job, hey, that's kind of what you have to do sometimes. Let's do 4 more questions that are a little bit less like teaching related, a little bit more on the personal side. So one is, how do you like manage being a teacher and a mom and a wife and a Christian? And it is a constant struggle and something that you have to like attack every single day. I just know for myself that I can't be the best mom that I can be without like spending time in prayer, spending time in the Bible. And teaching is such an emotional, relational job where you need so much wisdom that I really feel like I can't be a good teacher without sharpening my saw, which is a 7 Habits thing. And my form of sharpening the saw is prayer and Bible study and exercise and time with my family and stuff like that. So I know that I need to do that in order to be a good teacher. I really like the She Reads Truth app. I have that on my phone, and right now it's April and I'm giving myself a little Pray-Prol challenge where I pray for something different every day. I actually have my little list right here. I wrote down like 30 different things to pray for. I just found it on the internet and then copied it down. So this is giving me a little bit of like a prayer focus, but it's good. I find that I have like more motivation to make sure that I am gaining wisdom and gaining insight all the time, because I'm responsible for so many little people. I'm responsible for Jensen and responsible for these students in my classroom, and I don't want to be a snappy teacher. I don't want to have low patience and be somebody that is critical, and tired and can't give my all. And then, the same with my husband. Your marriage really does change a lot when you have a little baby. You come so much closer together, I think, but then it's hard to find time to be together, and you just have to talk about that and talk about it when you feel kind of neglected or you feel like, I'm just not getting enough time with you. I did that with my husband the other day, and I feel like he received it fine because, I was just kind of sad that we weren't getting enough time together. Like, that wasn't a critique of him, it's just I miss him, and he's like, yeah, I miss you too. Like, we need to spend more time together and find a babysitter, find, time when we can just be together. And we don't have really family around or anything that can watch him just like spur of the moment. So we have to plan ahead for those types of things. Just communicate about it. Tends to work. Related to that, someone asked how I met my husband, and I met him about 8 years ago now at church, the same church that we still go to. It's in Irvine. It's called Free Chapel, Orange County. We met at like a Wednesday night service. Actually, the first time I ever walked into that church, the first person I ever talked to was him, and then he ended up being my husband. But for the first couple months, we were just kind of friends. When we met, I was 21 and he was 30. So it wasn't initially like a relationship type thing. We were just friends, and then like I turned 22 pretty quickly after that. So we're like 8.5 years apart or something. He was working on his album. I was going through like a really rough time in my life, and I wasn't really ready for a serious relationship, and I kept kind of like holding him off. But he was so consistent and so like, there's this song by India.Arie called He Heals Me, and I heard that song like as we were dating, I guess, and that song spoke to me so much. Like, he really was somebody that like healed me as I was going through hard times and just totally stuck by my side through things that he should not have even stuck around for, but he is an amazing, amazing man. I don't deserve him at all. I'm so blessed to have him. And we were just like, we couldn't even believe how similar we were. Like, we both studied kinesiology, we both played basketball, but then we both loved like Christian rap and secular rap, and like went to church and played sports, and we just liked so many of the same things, and we both are just kind of like such a weird combination of interests. And I remember like the first time I met him, I was like, I feel very unoriginal right now. I feel like you kind of stole my identity. So we were just so similar and got along super well. So I'm very grateful for him, and he is a wonderful father and a wonderful husband. I wish that he would do like more YouTube stuff with me, but he hates putting himself out there. He doesn't do like social media really, which is fine. He's a much more private person than me, and I actually really appreciate that. It kind of like tethers me a little bit and just kind of helps to balance us out. So I think it's good. Another kind of family question is, do you plan on having more kids, or is little Jensen all the love you need? He's definitely all the love we need. He is just the greatest baby. He is so much fun. I love his little personality. I can't even handle how cute he is. He is just so adorable. We are having a blast with him. We really would like to have one more baby. At the moment, daycare is so expensive. If we were to have 2 in daycare, that would literally be half my paycheck every month, and we just can't afford that. So the plan right now is to wait until Jensen is like almost in kindergarten before we try for another one. But I mean, you know, plans could change. If we feel like it is time to try for another one, we would just do that. And it was crazy with Jensen. We didn't know how we were gonna pay for his daycare. And then right before the school year started, you know, I found this job that I have now, that the raise that I got moving from one job to the other was the exact amount that we needed for daycare every month. So it was crazy. Like, God just provides for us. So I know if we have another one, like, we will figure it out. But just at the moment, it seems wise to wait until Jensen's a little closer to kindergarten. I want a girl so badly. I think that would be so much fun. We like speak it a lot. Like, we'll just say, you know, like, well, when Jensen has a little sister, like, this is what we'll do. So I try and just put that out there as much as I can. Hopefully we'll have a little sister someday. And let's do one last question. This is, do you have any quick weeknight dinner ideas? I love Trader Joe's. There's a Trader Joe's on the way home from work, and so I tend to stop by there whenever I need something to make a quick weeknight dinner. One thing that I'm gonna make tonight actually is just kind of like a stir fry. So they have these little like clam shells of fresh vegetables, like stir fry vegetables. So I just put a little oil in a pan and stir fry those, and at the same time I boil some linguine, usually the whole wheat linguine. So it's kind of those thicker noodles. And then after the noodles are done, I just combine them and like stir fry them a little bit more with the vegetables. And I put a little soy sauce, and then Trader Joe's has quite a few little kind of like other sauces that you can use for stir fries. And that probably takes like 20 minutes, maybe even less. And it's pretty healthy, really yummy. Me and my husband love it. Like, normally we can just like split it into 2 bowls, and then there's a little bit left over that I could take like for lunch the next day. Thank you so much for your questions. It was so fun kind of getting to know you guys through the questions. I hope that I addressed most things that you had questions about, and we'll have to do another one of these soon. So thank you again, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.